When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? But the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever for the human.
The Waves Above Us, written by Lobst, read by Lyra. Summary. Steve Rogers looks for death, that elusive fucker dodging him left and right. He stares at walls, talks to ghosts, and smokes a boatload of weed. He has a homeless friend who sells stuff on the sidewalk. He eats greasy burgers and barbecue chips. He works for S.H.I.E.L.D., because why the hell not? Yet, unwittingly, there are several things he rediscovers: communism, sex, and then, unbowed, unbroken, and very much unhinged, the only equal to his insanity, Bucky Barnes. Or, jumping off Brooklyn Bridge, a road trip through Europe, fucking up against walls and fighting over God and Marx. Chapter 1. Waves Above Us, or All the Strange Beginnings. All the Bones. As all things do, it starts and ends with the sea. In its lapping bluey waves chasing one another rest the bones of the bygones and the stories they told, teeth chattering through the rush of frosty bubbles. They like to speak on about the great hunger, prattling over potato peels and spindling legs, gnawing and biting and waving. The blight that festered the plant in our soil whispers beneath the waves, beckoning, and we go, never learning to stop. Ah, Farragut, how gently you pull, how very gently, and snug in your embrace of salt water and tears sit the vessels of plank and wood, of steel and coal, mighty yet small. Little Sarah Rogers, look at her all pretty and packed, riding the waves and whispering to herself, Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, she whispers, little Sarah does. Ah, Farragut of all the bones, the stories, they are all yours, all yours. Little Sarah, look at her, with her husband gone to the war, and her damp undershirt and her dry eyes merely an inkling, a dot of life in her belly. As all things do, it starts and ends with the sea. There was nothing when he woke up. The car, smooth and polished, they honked, and billboards flickered and switched. People spoke to their neatly scored telephones and hurried down the sidewalks on rubbery plastic soles. His kitchen cupboard was stocked with different cans and packaged in cartons, and in his icebox sat ears of corn, chicken breasts neatly pre-sliced, and bottles of light beer. Sometimes his strangely large hands would tremble as he reached out to torch a smooth granite surface or skim his knuckles across the dull gloss of the leather couch they gave him. At times, it felt more like he was the one given to the apartment. The modern furnishing, the metallic sheen of the kitchen, the potted palm tree. It all belonged. It all had to suffer his displaced presence. The shield, unblemished and gleaming, they hung on the wall like a centerpiece at an art gallery. On the third day after his return, he folded his hands in his lap and prayed for them. to put him back into the ice. Sarah, little Sarah Rogers, mother of one and wife to none. Lad, look at me. Look at your mum. I love you to bits. You hear me? I love your toes, your poking ribs, and your calves at night. Jesus, Mary, Joseph, I love your calves at night, for they tell me you are whole and real and here. Outside, the world is churning, and the streets are the bustle of foreign tongues, the dim glow of gas lamps, and the spit and the ferment of dusty lungs. There lives no mercy in this world, not for the ones born weak and curious, the ones born into dirt and poverty in a warm embrace. Little Sarah, breaking her back, asleep on her feet, hands busy, mind reeling. Where will she go? How will she pay? Bread and butter and salt for the table, cabbage for stew, and a penny for bushmeals. That's how a woman gets by on her own, with weary arms and flattened lips, her head held high, with fear and with pride. Lad, look at me. Look at your mum. Never let them shame you for the holes in your shoes or the skin on your knees, the food between your teeth. Shame on them who put their heels down when we are prone. The worker's back is the one upon which they stand, to toil the fields, oil the factories, and sweep the chimneys. Without us they have not. Without us they will fall. Sarah Rogers, a woman grown, mother of one and wife to none. She sings. She asks, yet what falls on us is weaker than the feeble strength of one, but the union make us strong. Little Sarah, look at her. She takes her lad by the hands and leads him to her, singing, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union make us strong. Lad, look at me. Look at your mom. I love you to bits. You hear me? Three months in, they hosted a charity gala and named him the guest of honor. Shield provided him with a jet black tailored tuxedo, dress shoes that pinch his toes, and sent a barber to his assigned apartment to trim back the hair on his nape. It was his very first public appearance since they forced him out of the ice. A national treasure uncovered, the star-spangled man was a plan, alive and well. He smiled at the agents that escorted him into the limousine and continued to smile all the way to the venue, even though he was alone in the back seat. His cheeks ached with the effort as he walked down a red carpet, past the surge of flashing camera lights and the deafening roar of the crowd. He ceased to feel anything at all once he was placed at the table and left by himself with the murmuring, pointing, and staring. He met a number of charming ladies. He met the Howard Stark's son Anthony and his companion Colonel James Rhodes. He met the mayor of New York and numerous senators. He even met the president himself, shaking his hand and speaking in a deep voice, pleasantries without content and large grin without zeal. He managed to taste a few bites of the 6-course meal they placed in front of him and even gave a well-timed laugh. From the corner of his eyes, he saw how the agents guarding the entrance shifted, adjusting weapons beneath their suit jackets, eyes scanning the grandeur of the ballroom maskedly. He kept on smiling all the way back. Once they had taken him up to the apartment, he headed into a large, tilted bathroom and locked the door. The best of it filled with the lukewarm water, gentle to the touch, before he retrieved the straight razor from his shelf and got into the tub still closing in his tuxedo. The switch water calmed him. He raised his left wrist, cutting a vertical line along a crawl of bluish veins, deep and sure. The pain was dull and a pleasant surprise. The first thing that had stirred him in the whole 3 months in here was brought back. He then opened his right wrist as well, fingers slipping with blood on the silver blade. Gliding under the pinkish haze of the bath water, he let his smile go and found nothing more than relief. He woke again when the morning sunlight streamed through the crisp white curtains of the bathroom window. His skin felt clammy and rough, the tips of his fingers wrinkled and dehydrated. The water, a clear red knot like the fancy foreign juice in his kitchen, had turned icy cold over the few hours he had been out. On his wrists the thin red lines were already healing. An awful, ugly sob clawed its way up his throat, and it quickly sank under the garment into the water. It left a metallic, bitter tang behind his teeth, and he eventually sat up again, drained the bath and turning on a hot shower to wash away any trace of that might have been left. Oh, Sarah, little Sarah Rogers, you have tried this world, and you have found it lacking. There's your lad, feverish, but nothing as bright, frail as a bird but tough as a hide. The waves might take him, any night, but you hold on with all that you are, you hold on and whisper, "Oh, Ashley, pulse of my body, look at your mum, look at her." Sarah, little Sarah, the clothes on your back, the bread in your stomach, the comfort of your lodging, it could all be gone with the blink of an eye and the stretch of a second. How cheap your life is. How very cheap we all are. He tried again, a week after his first botched attempt. He upped the water temperature and made the cuts deeper and longer, with a slim kitchen knife instead of his razor. This time he was gone long enough to dream. Lodged between his long, peaceful sleep in the sea and the days of his childhood were his years at war. Glorious sunlit days, snowy days, dull grey and fading at the edges. If there was ever a time he was truly happy, those must be it. Or so he dreamed. He didn't mind the bloodshed, or the smell of burnt meat in the air. He didn't mind the piles of bodies or the stretch of piss and fear. He didn't even mind the gold flicker in Bucky's eyes. Or so he dreamed. He woke up to the beeping of hospital machinery and the busy clatter of a nurse pushing a cart. His hands, heavily bandaged, were cuffed to the bed, and on the hard wooden stool, wearing a stiff, practiced expression, sat Nicholas J. Fury. His one eye flickered to him and stared at an unblinking for a few moments. He closed his eyes again and tried to chase the dream before it vanished, lingering at the murky edges of his consciousness. They had been in the woods, somewhere or other, and the night frost had only just melted under the glaring winter sun. He had been content, with Bucky warm at his side and Peggy Carter's smiling eyes in his sketchbook. He had been content, and his breath had fogged in twirling crystalline patterns. Or so he had dreamed. When he came to again, Fury was gone, but the message had been more than clear. He was not allowed death. Look at him, Sarah, the Cashley, walking with his head bent, eyes far away. Your lad, how he's growing to himself, into something else. The war torn out his innards, he is as hollow as he is alone, so utterly alone. Little Sarah, look at your lad, standing atop the steel and wire spanning the East River, murmuring his prayers that you have taught him. Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me. He mumbles into his cavity of loss, a prayer for another voyage. May he find what he so craves. May he find the ice. Look at him, Sarah Rogers. Look at your lad. A drop of a few 100 feet, and he'll be with the waves, the bones, and stories. As all things do. It starts and ends with the sea.